Good evening, everyone. Glad to see you all could make it. We're going to have a bigger crowd here as people start showing up. Usually they show up 5 to 10 minutes late, which is normal. That's okay. We don't mind. Welcome to our meeting. The meeting of who?
Rotary Club of Saint Petersburg International.
Thank you.
Is that a test?
Okay, I was just waiting to hear from somebody outside the club to find out if they know where they're at. Not everybody knows where they're at these days. So many people are getting on Zoom and chiming into ICCs and clubs and so forth. Right. Rotary Club of St. Petersburg International. Welcome to our meeting. We're glad to see you here. Our speaker journey of having several in a row is still going on, going well. We have a very nice speaker this evening. Natalia Kunzer has been with us. Excuse me, Kunzer has been with us for a few weeks besides tonight, and she has a very, very interesting topic. I did a little research on it, and I learned some things that I didn't know, and I'm very happy to hear what she's going to have to say about it tonight. So as we roll into this, I need us to make a few comments. We have been talking in the past 2 weeks about supporting each other, helping each other, trying to paint a sunny day for people when they're sad or depressed or down. As Rotarians, we have a responsibility to help people around the world. And that word help is such an ambiguous word. It means so many different things to so many different people. Maybe it means supplying masks or a vaccine. Maybe it means helping them through a sad time. Maybe it means getting water for their village. Maybe it means putting books on the shelf in their school. Maybe it means buying wheelchairs, or in our case of our club, helping people at the Children's Rehabilitation Center. It is help. And that word help is so, so critical to Rotarians. We love to help people. And when we're trying to get new people involved into Rotary, it is very good when they come to a meeting, and I know online that's very difficult right now, but if you can get them live and take them to be part of your project, they will get that feeling of excitement because they helped somebody. When you help someone else, you also get a reward. You also get a dose of that good feeling. And it makes us happy to be Rotarians and happy to help people around the world. So when we're looking for members, talk about the projects, talk about the things we do around the world to help everybody, and try to draw people in who may want to participate, who may want to do that. There's a program out there that you know about, Habitat for Humanity. I've never participated, but it's on my bucket list. I want to help build a home for somebody someday, and I will participate in that somewhere. It's one of the things that we do among so many, is to help people rebuild their lives. And right now, those of you who are in America, boy, have we got some things going on. Fires out on the West Coast, flooding on the East Coast, southern part, South Central, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi got hit so hard by a hurricane, and then followed up with another one that didn't hit directly, but flooded again. And they've been flooded over and over and over. People are trying to pick up the pieces of their life. And as Rotarians, we can help. We can donate our time. We can donate our energy. We can help where anywhere possible. So that's word help is my focus for this week. Reach out, help someone who's struggling, help somebody who needs that help. And it's going to make them better, and it's going to make you feel better. I'd like to now turn it over to our secretary and see what comments Randall has for us this evening. Randall?
Well, first of all, Michael, you look very nice. Secondly, I miss you. Hope that you're going to come back here pretty soon. I just have 3 little bits of news to share. Thankfully, our treasurer is back, so I want to state that dues are due, and we'll be following up regarding our club dues. Second thing, I've been trying very assiduously to follow up our application that we sent in June to be 100% Paul Harris Fellowship Club. And it requires persistence to get a response. So we're still waiting. They say that the foundation is very, very busy, but I'm still following that up because I think it's something very unique. And I have in my cabinet over here received Rami's PHF, which was sent to me. So it's important that we try to get closure on that. Maybe we won't get it, but we qualify as far as I understand. Then the third thing is Charles Heberle, who's our frequent visitor and was an interesting speaker a few months back. He was supposed to be in St. Petersburg today, but he's stuck in Amsterdam. He can't fly directly from Amsterdam to Moscow, so he's got to find a different way into the country, or into Russia, I mean. So he's meant to be here probably on Friday, and he would like to meet with us. Us are mostly not here, but now Andreas is back, so that's a good thing. And he is coming because he wants to talk about a project idea he has to bring a large quantity of American Rotarians to Russia to see what Russia is all about and to realize that it's completely different from all their misconceptions, and that they would then take it back to their clubs and districts and spread a more positive image about the country. So that's a big challenge. I don't know exactly how we might help him, but he's pretty keen to do something that would have a big impact and that would have a positive impact that would be recognized by the government here. So that's his wish. And I can actually share this with David maybe, but I better talk to him first.
Yeah.
So he's coming here for about a week, and he'll be tentatively now he's arriving on Friday.
Randall, do you know if he's working with Sharon Tennyson? Because she's also trying to do that.
Well, he does his own thing. So this is his own thing, independent of Sharon. Sharon is supposed to be coming now. Maybe it's going to be the beginning of October. And what else? And one more thing. Tomorrow I'm meeting an Indian fellow from a city named Madurai. He's from a club in Tamil Nadu in the southeast of India. He sent a message saying he's in town and he's coming to town and would like to exchange banners. So I have no banner to give him, but I can meet him. So I will see him tomorrow and buy him coffee and find out what happens in Madurai. And he's from a club that's, I think he said it's about 7 years old.
If I'm not mistaken, the banners should be in Astoria. In the closet.
No banner, all gone. We had no, I had one, and I think I still have one. Oh, yes, I have one, which I took to the German chamber when we had the meeting there, but we don't have any extras.
Right. Okay. Anything else, Randall?
And that's a bit it.
Okay, and on my notes that I was going to mention is that we have a visitor from India who's going to be in St. Petersburg, September 16th through 18th, and we need somebody to meet up with him. So Randall, you're meeting up with the right guy, and I'm happy you're doing it. Thank you very much, appreciate that. We as people in St. Petersburg just cannot wait until the floodgates open and many of you are coming back to Russia again, because many of you have said you've been there before and you want to come back. We'll be there to welcome you with open arms once all this travel is available, once we all can get back and doing the things that we used to be doing, at least in some close proximity to what we were doing before. We're going to welcome many, many people into St. Petersburg. So Randall, thank you for seeing this fellow. Excuse me, I'm not sure who he is, but Randall, please follow up and try and get a business card for me from him, and we'll follow on, because I have been online with some Rotarian clubs in India already in the last year that I've gone to their meetings. So we find out who this guy is. I'll try to see if I can go to maybe his meeting online. So gather that information. Okay, I welcome most people in this evening. There's a few of you who have come in afterwards. Antonina, welcome, good to see you again. And Tom Roth, thank you for showing up. Tom, appreciate that. And Richard Denton is now with us. Richard, good to see you again. I wish I could get my beard to grow as thick as yours. Mine just won't come out well. It's just not thick. I wish I had Richard's hair on my chin, so it would look a little bit better, but that's all right. So I think that's everybody. I know Nadezhda joined us late. Welcome again, Nadezhda. So I think that's everyone. With that, I'm going to move forward on to our speaker, and we're going to bring Natalia in here in just a moment. First, I need to just tell you a little bit about her. Now, When I first met her online here, I did not realize that she had been born in Russia, in Moscow. That's where she started. Well, she started there, and then eventually she moved to Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., she started to continue her interest in the fine arts, studying art, studying many things about art. Eventually, she was interviewed by in an open interview for the Open World Leadership Center. They were just trying to find out information. Later on, she applied for the job and now has been there almost 2 decades. So she has still been Rotarian since 2002. Along the way, she has also went back to school and got her graduate degree. So she has moved up another level in education. I love it when people go back. Good going, Natalia, on you. I mean, going back to school, that's a great thing. All of these things, people ask her, isn't boring now after 2 years? And she says, absolutely not boring, always interesting. And she's going to tell us what it is she does with this program that she's going to talk about. Now, the program, I need to get the screen share for just, oops. Get the screen share. Program she's going to talk about is One World. It's called One World. But before we get to her program, and Natalia, you got just a few minutes here, maybe about another minute. I need to take care of a little bit of business before we get to that One World. I need to make sure that everybody understands what our mission is. I'm sure I don't need to tell this group, you already know it, but I feel that we need to have some protocols in the club. So we'd like to tell everybody, including new members, old members, guests, everyone, that Rotary's mission is to provide that service I was talking about earlier, provide that help and promote integrity so that we got the understanding that people know in different countries about Russia. And we heard that Eberly and a few others are going to be bringing some people over here to try and make that happen. We need to promote the peace around the world and then build fellowship in both business, profession, and in our communities, between our individual members and between our organizations. We need to build that integrity and build on that. That's what the Rotary is all about. Now, today we ask you please leave your microphone off because we do have a speaker today. While she's speaking, we'd like to give her our full attention. So please leave your microphone off, but leave your camera on, please. If you'd like the best view of Natalia while she's speaking or her slides, the best thing to do is go up in the upper right-hand corner and click on the speaker view. Today, Today, we would ask you, please don't talk about sex, religion, or politics. We know it's going to creep in, but we just need to warn you ahead of time. Just don't point it at any individual or any organization, please. And then the reason we do that is because our meeting is being recorded. Randall is recording the meeting, and as the speaker finishes later on, we will shut it off, but it is sent out following our meeting within a few days. So people will be able to see what Natalia has to say and what some of our comments and questions are about what's going on. All that is online. So I don't want to steal her thunder, but we got one more thing to do. We need to do our 4-way test. This is something we started last year and we need to continue it. At this time, I would like everybody, please turn on your microphone. Everybody, please turn on your microphone. Unmute yourself. So everybody has an open microphone. I'm going to read the 4-way test, and after I read the 4-way test, I will ask you to please repeat it after I say it. Everyone. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair
to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it
Will
build
goodwill and better
friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Last of all, is it fun?
It's
fun. It's fun.
Hey, thank you all very, very much. Please mute yourself, turn your microphone off at this time. Everyone, please. Everyone except for Natalia Kunzer, please. Mute yourself. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to bring Natalia in, let her tell us about this One World program. And I know the research that I did on it made it sound very, very interesting. I don't have any place to host a few young people and help them learn about our world, but I wish I did right now. Maybe when I go back to Russia, maybe I'll see if I can't host some Americans coming that way. I don't know, but it looks awfully, awfully interesting. So I'm going to get out of my screen share and turn it over to Natalia. Natalia, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for a kind introduction. Let me share my screen and figure out which one that is again. And this is not it. Do you see my slide presentation or no?
Yes, yes.
Great. So this is the Open World program, and we'll go on to the next slide. The Open World program is 22 years old this year. This is quite significant because it's a unique program. There is no similar program out there because it is in the legislative branch of the US government, and it's sponsored or funded directly by the US Congress. It was championed by Dr. James Billington, the Librarian of Congress at the time, back in 1999, when it was a pilot program. And after successful launch of the pilot program, the Open World Leadership Center, a permanent agency, was established in 2000. So pilot program, what was that and why was it there? Dr. James Billington was a scholar of Russian history. He visited Russia many times. He wrote many books on the Russian history. And after the fall of Soviet Union, he thought that Russian people, particularly young leaders, could use help. So it was many our host Rotarians, when they're describing the Open World program, they say it's in a way based on the Marshall's Plan that the United States has established after World War II to help Western European countries to get back to pre-war normal life. So in 1999, Dr. Billington thought it was time, and in working together with his friend, academician Dmitry Likhachov, they worked out a plan for the Open World program to bring young Russian leaders to the United States to show them how United States operates in the economic and cultural and private life of Americans who would be hosting these delegations. So the structure of the program, the main course setter is, of course, the agency that governs the program, and that is now formerly known as Open World Leadership Center, but this year they just changed their name back in March to Congressional Office for International Leadership, to reflect their work more precisely to what it has evolved to. Because by today, the program is hosting delegations from other countries, not just Russia. So Open World, or the Congressional Office for International Leadership, or as they abbreviate themselves as COIL. I'm still getting used to this name. They are working with American consuls. Perhaps it's, the full name is American Consuls for International Education. They used to have offices throughout Russia, but about a decade ago, they had to close them. So now they have just some representatives in Russia, but they do have offices in Ukraine and a few other countries of former Soviet Union. And then our organization, Rotary International, is a grantee organization. So we receive a grant from Open World that funds our program. and Rotary clubs and districts act as local hosts. So going back to a little history, in '99, of course, Rotary International was one of the first organizations Open World has approached to work with in getting delegations, bringing delegations from Russia and showing them programs in local American communities. Rotary, of course, is an expert in home hosting, and it has its own group study exchange program that has been modified, but still a wealth of hosting experience, and building vocational and professional programs is Rotary was very well qualified, aside from the friendship exchange and youth exchange, etc. So there was quite a bit of enthusiasm from Rotarians seeing and testing their feet in the new territory where Rotary has been just several years, since 1990 or 91, when the first club was established in Russia, and the opportunity to tell the Rotary story was amazing. First few Rotarians who were involved were Grant Wilkins and Carolyn Jones. Carolyn Jones has been a known supporter of Russian initiatives. She traveled throughout Russia, particularly in the Far East and Siberia. So the program started practically from Carolyn's basement in Anchorage, when she would call her fellow DGs and say, there are 50 Russians landing in your area in 2 weeks. Please make sure you have a program for them. Here is the topic. So the beginning is any beginning. There has been some khaki Russian businessmen with expensive watches would roll out of airplanes. Rotarians would host them, and slowly but surely the program has developed a very firm and great structure. But nevertheless, of the quality of our first delegates or their intentions, or it has been an unforgettable experience and invaluable opportunity for the Russian citizens, young Russian leaders, emerging leaders, to come to the United States and see firsthand how local government works, how market and free enterprise work, how ordinary Americans live, what they do in their free time, and very important, what Rotary does and what Rotarians are and why they do it. Why do they host strange foreigners whom they haven't met, and they welcome them in their own homes? That is a very foreign concept. I'm sure you know that. For Russians, volunteering. Yeah, I volunteered so many years ago for 5 minutes, and I remember that. But volunteering for 30 years at one place at the same time is like a career. And that is still a very difficult concept for any former Soviet Union resident to comprehend. How is it possible and why to do it? So the program has evolved, and it has made huge steps throughout the years. In a few years, we've hosted the delegations from Uzbekistan, then some Baltic states were added to the list. Ukraine has been added to the list, and so forth. From the beginning, we were able to host more delegations than later, as the program has started with fewer grantee organizations, with fewer topics, but and then it started expanding. However, the budget has not been growing that fast. So that's a little bit. So forwarding fast forward to today's world, of course, Rotary has met with challenges. Open World has run into the same challenges as the world has faced through pandemic, and we had to change very quickly, and we moved on to virtual programming. So we hosted virtual programs for new delegations that we've nominated, that we had ready to travel, but were not able to travel in 2020. We managed to host only 3 delegations in person, and they had to quickly pack and leave within a day before because the country was shutting down on the 13th of March of 2020. And in May, we began conducting virtual programs. And that went, additionally, there was a learning curve, but we've overcome that, and we've had very successful programs. One of the oldest virtual reunions we've had with the Kingman Rotary Club in Arizona that had a reunion with their delegation from 2011. So hosts have exchanged their life changes throughout last decade, and we had new grandchildren, changes in their residences, and our delegates have expressed shared their experiences in their growing families and changes and challenges at their workplaces during the pandemic. And here are a few photographs for you. In the first, you can see the late Congressman Stevens, who was a great supporter and helper to James Billington to launch the program. Then Carolyn Jones and Grant Wilkins, who received the Award of Merit from the Open World Leadership Center at the time, and the Open World Leadership Center Executive Director at the time, Ambassador Akif. And other photos from past years when Rotarians hosted Open World delegations. We always ask, and Rotarians are eager to oblige to bring delegations to Rotary clubs meetings to their own, and any other clubs who would like to meet the delegation and share their club's work with them and hear what visitors have to bring and tell them about their hometown and the country. So overall, Open World goals are to increase understanding and build peace. It's a difficult situation, and it has been in the past 20 years, and it doesn't seem to get any easier or better, but we have to do and work towards building peace and relationship, whether it's Russia or Belarus or any other countries. Today, as I've mentioned before, Open World covers the entire region of Eurasian countries. It has plans to even perhaps start going to South America at some point, but those are very initial steps. But I'm sure within coming years, we'll see our geographic territory expanding even greater. Open World supports countries' efforts to build civic society. It has been doing it for the last 20 years, and we're pleased to say and see the change. They might be baby steps, but they're necessary. The Open World program nurtures civic and political environments where civil society develops not only from the top down, but from grassroots organizations. Through Rotary hosts Open World, visitors see Rotary members in action and their experience volunteer work firsthand. The future leaders form positive views of the United States and come to recognize the value and the relationship between the countries. Open World participants are young leaders. Their age is usually from 23 to 35. Open World is looking for someone who has a college or university degree, who is at the beginning of their career, who is open to changing, and who are more open-minded, and who have years and years to implement their gained knowledge from the program, so that their participation, because all expenses are paid by American taxpayers, would not go to waste, but will be implemented when Open World delegates go back to their countries. Open World works with nonprofit organizations and U.S. embassies in the countries from where we bring delegations to the United States. Unfortunately, it's a one-way program. It's an exchange program, but it's only one way when we have Eurasian delegates come to the United States. There are no funds allocated by the US government to take Americans to those countries. Open World loves hearing stories of reciprocal visits when American hosts go visit Open World delegates, visitors, countries, but unfortunately that is only if hosts are able and willing to do it on their own dime rather than being supported by the grant, because the goal of the program is to support developing civil societies, to support young leaders from those countries. For the delegates, Open World would like to experience American life at first hand. They would like them to meet with American counterparts. They would like them to see how Americans live in their own home. That is why, and get personal connection. That is why home hosting is essential part of the program. That without home hosting, is hotel stays, aside from the fact that it'll be very expensive for the program, it just doesn't give an opportunity for hosts and guests to learn about each other or interact as much as they do when visitors stay in volunteers' homes. That gives personal touch that cannot be replaced with anything else but that. And what kind of hosting themes Open World is following? They do change from year to year. It depends on what is important to each country that participates in the Open World, what issues are more prioritized, etc. But overall, they do fit within the three larger umbrellas of themes. That is accountable governance, health, and education. Accountable governance includes many themes, including women entrepreneurs or librarians. That falls under that. Education, quite a few delegations we've hosted that looked at the special education for children with disabilities. Health is a vast theme and self-explanatory. So it just takes it all. On the picture, you see our delegation in 2019 from Far East. It was actually nominated. I worked with the current district governor, Margareta. She helped me to find participants for this delegation from Russia. And the theme was regional economic development and fishing industry and tourism. So, and the Far East has a special place in Alaska's heart, as Alaska has a very special place in Russian Far Eastern heart. They work well together, and it was a great program. Delegates were absolutely stunned by resources that little home of Homer, the Homer Kachemak Bay Rotary Club hosted, and also Anchorage Rotary Club hosted. They split the program between the two clubs. And here on photograph, they visited a small clam. Yeah, small clam farm. So what do our hosts do? Rotary clubs usually work autonomously. They don't ask a district if they want to host. If they would like to host, they just complete an application. They tell us what kind of theme they would like, which country they would like to, which delegation from which country they would like to host. They need to have host families, obviously, to host 6 open world participants. We also ask to host an interpreter. Open world does not require our visitors to speak English because they provide a professional interpreter, for whom they also ask to have a host family to stay with during the program. And the program lasts 8 days. During that time, professional program would take about 32 hours. That is 5 days, maybe 6-7 hours a day. And then the evening and the weekends, a social and cultural program that host organize for the delegation. And of course, it's a grant funded, the program funded through the grant. Rotary International is a grant recipient, so there is a bit of paperwork as necessary. We'll need an agenda, we'll need post-programming report, how the program went, what was good, what was not, recommendations, etc., and expense report. The program does not cost anything to Rotary International. Rotary receives a grant, and that grant also includes my position. I administered the grant, and we provide funds to host Rotary clubs, and it works on the reimbursement basis. Clubs either sometimes Rotarians use their personal credit cards, but we encourage clubs to set money aside because we reimburse the club, and then the club would reimburse Rotarians who have contributed their personal funds to support the delegation's visit during that week. Most of expenses go for rental of a van that would fit about maybe 8-9 passengers, and maybe even their suitcases on pick up from the airport or a train station, and meals. Those are biggest expenses, and a bit lesser expenses are for cultural ticketed events, museums, sporting games, or other local fairs, etc. So overall, it's about $4,000, depending on how well it's planned. Unfortunately, because it is U.S. government program, we can't reimburse for alcohol, but hosts have always found means for that. It is somewhat modest budget, but potluck is always a joy. Lots of hosts ask their visitors to cook a meal one night, and they have fun going shopping and buying ingredients. And then everybody heard of Russian borscht or blini, so some of the visitors cook meals for their hosts just as well. So And of course, benefits of participation, that is a great opportunity for small clubs or medium clubs. Actually, large clubs do not participate in our program because they're sometimes a little too big to turn around quickly enough, because one committee, another committee would need to approve participation in the program. Open World has a disadvantage for our methods of work, that our deadlines are very short. When we receive grant guidelines and I have to submit a grant proposal for the program, we have about 4 weeks. That in 4 weeks, I have to put together the entire schedule for the year. And hopefully we would find 20-25 clubs for the incoming calendar year who are willing and able to host an Open World delegation. Going back to the point I've made about smaller clubs who may not have additional funds for a big international project, this way international service opportunity comes to their community. They don't need to travel, they can interact and meet foreigners and showcase their local community and tell a Rotary story, why they do it, what they do it, and how they do it. We do hope, and one of the best outcomes is when we see dialogue and relationships go beyond those 8-day visits. That's a golden egg that Open World likes to see when we have relationships evolved beyond the hosting week. It gives us an opportunity again to introduce Rotary to other parts of the world, to the world that is still struggling to emerge as a civil society. And in order to have Rotary movement as strong as it may be in that part of the world, we have to do this work now. If we don't do it, we'll never have a chance to succeed. So, and we hope we will, and Russia will have a strong Rotary movement and will evolve as a wonderful and stable country. So, and on this note, I end my presentation, and if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Natalia, thank you very, very much. Will you close your screen share, please?
I am. Or Randall, help me out here,
I
please.
help you. I help you. I help you.
Thank you. Great.
Very, very good. All right. Natalia, thank you very, very much for providing all that information. And we got to figure out how to get a two-way water slide where we can slide Americans to Russian and Russians back here. So we got to build a two-way water slide. From our guests that we have on the floor, if anybody has a question, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. And I know Randall is going to be first. He always is. But anyone else has a question, certainly. Robert, I'll get to you second. Randall, go ahead and ask your question.
I only have three short ones. First question is, it's not clear to me, Natalia, is it exclusively through Rotary that the One World program is administered, or there are several different implementing partners?
There are many grantee organizations. In a way, partner is not the right word, even though sometimes it slips when I speak about the program as well, because we are receiving money. The one orders music who pays for the music. So Open World has more leverage in telling what they would like and how they dictate what the program should be. Yet throughout years, we have been able and fortunate to nominate quite a few delegations through Russian and Ukrainian Rotary clubs that works really well in facilitating specific initiatives local Rotary clubs are involved, because generally open world delegations composed of delegates from anywhere in the country. And knowing Russia that spreads through 9 time zones, it's really difficult to stay in touch. So what we found that having a delegation from one area is helpful. They can work together, collaborate, and continue dialogue with easier means than being from far away. But yeah, Open World works with at least a dozen of grantee organizations. They vary by size. We're one of the largest. They have Friendship Force organization that works with Open World. They have some organizations kind of a one-man show when they host only 1 or 2 delegations a year, and that's their work. We have some Rotarians who wear 2 hats. They're Rotarians, and they also work in or have a small nonprofit, so they utilize resources of their Rotary Club for hosting, but they're hosting on behalf of their own nonprofit organization.
And your role is solely focused on dealing with Rotary in the Rotary world, is that right? Or you
Yes.
go outside the
Yes,
Rotary?
I administer Open World program as a grant for Rotary International, and I'm Rotary International's employee in Evanston, Illinois.
Okay. And then Rotary itself, or the Rotary Foundation, are not contributing it. It's all from the
None.
congressional budget.
None, yes.
COIL is kind of an interesting.
Coil. Yeah, coil. I know.
Coil
It's
for
kind of
rattlesnake. That's what I think.
not very attractive, I'd say.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. So the second one is very short. On your list of countries, I was surprised that Bosnia was not there. And Bosnia, from my personal experience, has it needs some civil society.
Oh, yeah, there are many countries like that not on the list. Or some, for instance, Belarus used to be on the list, but because of the events last year, it's now off the list. We couldn't even have a reunion with our Belarus delegations because we didn't want to jeopardize their safety in Belarus. It's a constantly changing list. We did have some Bosnian delegations, very few. Rotary did not host them. Another organization hosted them that had stronger connections with Bosnia. But it's all changing. Open World has brought even one delegation, or plans to bring it at some point, either end of this year or early next year, from Hungary. So it's a constantly changing, evolving list of countries. I'm just happy to see that Russia is still on that list, because Open World is the only exchange program that is out there in the United States for Russia. All State Department has closed all of their programs. So we're the last of the Mohegans still standing.
Okay, my third quick question is alumni. Is it possible to tap into the 20-year experience of people coming back here? Maybe somebody from Saint Petersburg?
Yes, if you'd like them to invite. For the privacy concerns, we can't communicate with them directly, but if you would like, I can pass on information to Open World and American consuls, and they will send our invitation information to an event, anything we'd like to alumni. They'd be very happy to, if there is a connection made that way.
Okay, thank you. So I'll send you a follow-up note on that. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much, Randall. Robert, go ahead.
Thank you. I love your talk, Natalia, and I really like the benefit of building relationships, because I think that's one of the key factors for Rotarians, is to build relationships with other people around the world. What I didn't pick up, and maybe you said it and I just missed it, was I haven't got an idea of the scope of how many would be involved in your program through Rotary. Like, how many a year would we be talking about here?
Well, in good years, we would have at least 30, 35 delegations. In the last few years, we would have only about 20 delegations. So each Rotary Club usually hosts only one delegation a year, and a delegation has 6 participants, 5 delegates, and a facilitator. Facilitator is not a group leader like in GSC group. It's just the facilitator who, in a way, a Sherpa of a delegation, so it doesn't get lost anywhere at the airport, in transit, etc. That luggage arrives where it needs to be, and plays, in a way, a cultural bridge between the delegates and hosts when there are possible misunderstanding or something else. And on behalf of Rotary Club, usually you need a handful of host families to make sure there are 6 or 7 bedrooms with so many bathrooms for the visitors. And we had, for one person can do it. It's not rocket science, but it is a time-consuming endeavor. We usually recommend that a lead Rotarian who gets inspired with this project builds a team of several others who will work with host families, just break down responsibilities and work on planning as a team. It makes more easier and a more fun activity to work, rather than a real huge load of work carrying by yourself. That is rewarding, but at the end of a hosting week, people are wiped out. It was great, but probably not again if you do it solo. So that'd be my recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing any areas that you expand into, particularly South America and maybe China.
Well, probably not yet China, but in some years, as I said, the program changes from year to year, especially working with the US government or any government. It's probably universal. They have some characteristics that are always there. They're not written, but they're there. And it's interesting.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's a challenge for you, Natalia. Any other hands? Oh, I got a hand up here. Pita, you had a question, Pita?
Yes, more of an announcement than a question. Along with Antonina, I'm a member of the Canada-Russia ICC.
Right.
And at our last meeting, we were talking about what could we do. And in the past, we have facilitated inter-country visits. But with the pandemic, that's really not feasible. So one of the Russian members last month said that he would appreciate learning more about the tech sector in North America. And where I live, we have a very robust tech sector organization. And I thought, well, it should be possible, and it looks like we're proceeding on this, to come up with a Zoom panel of Canadian people in the industry, hopefully with some Rotarians in the industry, and then reach out to young professionals or students in Russia to sit in on a Zoom session with a panel of North American experts, if you will, and then Russian young people. And some of the comments that you made, Natalia, will be helpful for me in defining the scope. And perhaps I will get in touch with you as this proceeds on how to recruit participants. And I'll also talk to the Saint Petersburg Club, because I think there'll be some interest in this from the Russian side.
Oh, I'm sure. And I, throughout years of working with Russia, I still have some connections with Russian Rotarians who are very eager to, and they'd be perfect for this initiative and finding the right people. I know people in Novosibirsk, and Novosibirsk has very strong high-tech platform and a number of people. So please do. I'd be happy to hear
Great.
from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Michael, you're next. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Natalia, for an amazing presentation. As a past district governor, I'm constantly amazed at how many programs Rotary International has that I have no idea about, this being one of them. But like Michael said, it's because it's so important, and I do too, that Americans visit other countries. I mean, I understand that this is a one-way program and that's the way it's set up, but how are reciprocal visits handled, particularly if the delegation doesn't have a Rotary club in their particular geographical area from where they come? And do you have any idea of the percent of the programs that have reciprocal visits?
We do not have a steady or regular reciprocal visits. It's usually done on very individual levels. Some the Rotarians or their families, they contact an open world alumni they've hosted, and alumni helps them to find lodging if they can't host them in their flat personally. I think in a way, to build a group of American Rotarians or any Americans who would like to tag along and visit Russia would be developing developing a group trip, working maybe, I'm sure among Russian Rotarians, or maybe some of you have tourist business, and just finding that decent hotel that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, as most of Russian hotels. Maybe it has changed. It's been a while since I've been back, but it's either 5-star or no star kind of. There's nothing in between. But something decent, just and what would people probably like to have? Of course, nobody can provide any assurance in Russia, but to have that tourist visa organized on this side through the embassy, and in a way to provide this safety network to bring the group to Russia, and have a small minibus for transportation, take them to Saint Petersburg, maybe Moscow, or Golden Ring, wherever else you'd like to bring. But start with just a small group of several Rotarians, roll it as a tester, and then it can develop in a way, kind of in a cookie cutter way of bringing Americans to Russia, and then working with Russian Rotarians on helping to find good accommodations. That'd be my take on developing a kind of a channel for tourism, that in the safety, and when a group travels, it might be a little easier. Difficult on one hand, easy on the other hand, that when people together, they're less afraid of, what if I get stuck in Russia? What if somebody stops me or something? It's like, I can't get my husband to travel to Russia. It's like, oh, Russia, no.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for Natalia? Any? None other. I was interested in, Natalia, as to how can we get going, how can we encourage or help with the fostering of sending Americans to Russia? When we send Russians to America, a lot of the young Russians I know in their early 20s, early 30s, ask me questions about America because they hear so much. They hear all the propaganda about houses and cars and all this stuff living, and they're eager to find out the truth. But also, I find that here in America, when I talk to young people, they have no clue about Russia. They are lost. They have no idea what it's like to live in Russia at all. And if we could somehow encourage that side, get the Americans to go there and host them in Russia, I think it would be a big, big help, because most of the people over here, I know the older folks don't know about Russia, but even the younger ones are having a difficult time understanding Russia.
Oh.
Any comments, Natalia?
I have to think about that. It's a complicated question, because right now lots of young people, I have some teenagers in the house, and all they live and see the world through the phone, and the phone doesn't usually deliver anything good. It's a challenge in a way on both sides. I grew up in Soviet Union, but we knew best French movies. We were in the know of American movies. We knew history, we knew geography. It was a well-rounded, pretty good education. Nowadays, the concept that, oh, if you don't know, Google will tell you, and schools end up going from there. Even American history starts with civil rights movement rather than beyond that. On a serious note, probably youth clubs, Rotaract. Rotaract now has been on Rotary's radar quite firmly, that now we are discouraged to say Rotarian, because we view Rotaractors just as equal members of the organization. So we would say Rotary member, so we don't emphasize or exclude the other. So from Rotaractors would be a good step for Rotary to have this group of young people who might get interested in just going on a trip. I'm sure many of them would love to have not just touristy, glitzy trip, but going to Altai Mountains, connecting with Siberian Rotarians, a hiking expedition, or eco path building. There was a big project in Baikal many years ago, and they were building paths, and I thought that was wonderful, and it was somewhat popular. I haven't heard much about that, but Russia's big, and you can close your eyes, put your finger, and you'll find a need or an issue that can use help of young hands or old hands, and anyone's hands and participation. So that'd be going from someone's interest to trigger interest, and then tied to a geographic location. That would be Russia, would be the way to go, rather than just, oh, let's go see Russia. It's like, no, I'd rather go to Paris.
Understand, our club about 4 or 5 years ago had a large group of foreigners, not just Russians, but other country people, young Rotaractors who were studying in St. Petersburg. And we helped many of them go to the United Nations in the United States there in New York for a Rotary event where students were coming from all over the world were coming there. And we helped them to get there. And we've had a few of the students, American students, come to Russia, to our various clubs in St. Petersburg and other places in Russia. And we've met those students, and they're always very, very interested. Their eyes are very, very much open, and they're amazed by the difference between what they're hearing by being in Russia and what they have heard before they come to Russia. It's really eye-opening for them. So I'm just trying to figure out how to build that water slide so we can go back and forth. Yeah, Mr. Dent, Richard, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I take it, Natalie, that because it's funded from the American taxpayer, that your hosts are only American then. So like we have four, or well, we had four Canadians on the screen here, but
Yes,
uh,
and unfortunately, that's why this program in a way is a stepchild program to Rotary International, and it's not advertised as widely because it has limitations. It's not Rotary's program. That's
yeah.
but it's still valuable for Rotary International to participate.
And then do you do anything with the intercountry committees? David Fishman's left now, but just asked about that.
Yes, I usually participate in meetings with U.S. Russia ICC, U.S. Ukraine ICC. I don't think we have any other ICCs with Central Asian countries. So I participate. I work with U.S. clubs who would like to have specific delegation. As I've mentioned before, we were able to nominate through Russian and Ukrainian clubs on a specific theme, specific young leaders who fit open world criteria to bring over here for the program. So yes, because for me, it's also helpful to find host clubs, even though we do have over 7,000 Rotary clubs in the United States. It's always a challenge to find clubs willing and able to host an open world delegation when open world has these programs on the calendar.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Andres, did you have a question? You had your hand up earlier. No? Randall, go ahead.
Just a quick one. You mentioned personally that you have some teenagers at home. I wonder they've experienced, I guess, the whole evolution of you in this role with Open World. Is there any way that you can see that it's impacted on them to see these delegations coming to the US?
Well, they have not met the delegations because oddly enough, big cities don't host, big clubs don't host very often. Big cities because of the logistics. We have only small communities who host, because our home is, I am Russian, well, mostly Russian. My husband is an American with German descent. So girls have been to Russia a few times. My mom comes and stays with us during school year, and she doesn't speak English, so they're forced to speak some Russian. And they've traveled a little bit. They went with grandparents. One went to Austria. The other one was supposed to go to Germany, but last year, of course, nobody went anywhere. So they are in a better position because of the bilingual family, and they're also learning German in school, so they're almost trilingual. They also have a little Spanish, so we're trying to bring it a little. It's more unusual for just a typical American family, but that's the need of the world. The eldest, she loves Russia. She wants to go to Russia and next summer. So if you have any internships for 16-year-olds, paid or unpaid, as long as she is not idle there, I'd be very happy to send her there. So
Andres, our treasurer, is waving as you, saying, send her over. No problem. We'll find somebody. You'll find a
very
place.
good. I'll hold you to that.
Sure. That's the only way how to make links and how to connect the countries,
Right.
by knowing each other.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We got to build those bonds. Okay, Natalie, I know we got a smaller crowd this evening. We only got about 10 people on the screen, but from all of us to you, thank you very, very much for your work. We appreciate it. Thank you. And we appreciate your presentation. And it opens our eyes to 1 second, Andres. It opens our eyes to what you're doing and gives us a good background on how it's being supported. So thank you. Yes, Andres.
Sorry. When I waved Natalie, I just meant we can be the host family. We don't have
Oh,
to look
thank
for,
you.
I offered this.
Thank you very much.
He's got an extra bedroom or
welcome.
two.
Oh,
Thank you.
we have some space.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andreas.
So there you go. There's somebody you can connect with through our club. No problem whatsoever. That would be fine. Okay. We need to take care of a little bit of business yet that we haven't taken care of. I need to go to my slides. Get out of there. Popped in. All right, come on. Why is it not going here? Why is it not going? All right. Not showing up. We have our, we have our club signature project, and most of you know about it. You've been to our club meetings before, you've heard about it and so forth. The St. Petersburg Children's Charitable Foundation, we call it the CRC, and this is where they are helping children with cerebral palsy. It's a project that we started about 7 years ago, had a grant, did a good thing for them, and then we kind of dropped out of it for a while. Now we are back in it as of late 2019 and all of 2020 and now 2021. And we need your support. We need your help. Several of you on the screen have already donated. We are still raising funds. I'm going to be asking Andres in a few moments about what he knows because he has some new information. But every child deserves a walk or run. Every child. There should be no child who doesn't experience walking and running and playing like other children. And that's our goal, is to try to help some of them. We can't help all of them, but we want to have an impact on some of the children. These children need your help. And if you are interested in hearing a presentation, either from myself or from Andres Bone or from Rami Saeed, any of us that would be glad to come to your club and talk about this project and see what we can do to find some cooperation. You can contact either Randall Eastman or Andres Bone, either one, or contact myself, anybody in our club, and they'll pass the information on. But we really do need your support. Speakers. I'm going to ask Randall to give me an update because the only two I have is Philip and Sergey on the 22nd and the 29th. I don't have any additional information at this time. Randall, do you have anything more on this?
Working on confirming dates with people in October. There are several people who have expressed interest. I can't firm them up yet.
Okay.
But by next week, we'll probably.
That's fine. Great.
That worked out.
Thank
Just
you
for
very
the second person, I was confused myself. Sergei Dorofeyev, who is in Tomsk, actually has two companies, Rubius and Cubius. Rubius, his email is connected to the Rubius company, which is an engineering technology company. And Cubius is a product that he created, which is a cube, which it's a interesting cube that goes into an office, which provides a soundproof private space for someone to talk on their mobile phone without disturbing everybody else.
Okay.
And next week, our speaker, Philip, he's in Czechoslovakia. He's speaking about a social project. He created Dot Glasses, which has a mission to provide free glasses to people all around the world. And he was introduced to us by another Rotarian, and he was highly recommended that we ask him to come to speak to us. So he's with us next week.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go out of my screen share for a moment. I will go back as we get closer to the end of the meeting. I'd like to bring on board Andres Bone and find out, do you have any update for us at all with our CRC project?
Sure. If you allow me to share my screen with you, then I can give you.
Randall can take care of that.
Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to go through the whole presentation. Just want to share with you that I had a chance last Monday to visit the Rotary Club in Flensburg, north part of Germany, who donated 6,500 euros through their German organization for donations. So we are now with the rehabilitation center. We donated, the first one was Gorin Makar, the picture you had on your slide. The second one was Paulina Shokin. Now we are already with number 6 with Platon, who was donated by Rotary Club Flensburg, and 7, Uliana Michaeljova, also donated by the Rotary Club Flensburg. We have additional 1,500 euros from this donation left. So we need to look for donors in the amount of 1,000 to sponsor our 8th child. The club is very active. We had a present meeting with 32 members, and overall they have 250 members. Very old city, very distinguished, well situated people. Meetings being very, very friendly. It was a pleasure to have the chance to present our key project, and they are sending their regards to our club. That's all from my side with regard to this. If someone has some questions, and I'm more than happy to answer the questions. Thank you.
Is one of the children in there the sponsored by Sharon Tennyson, or that's still not completed?
Sharon Tennyson is number 5, Sophia.
So, okay, can you send me some information about that? Because she doesn't know that, I don't think, unless you've communicated with her directly.
I communicated with her directly about this. She knows about this. I shared with her the child enquete where it is written what kind of treatment she's going to have. So Sharon is fully in picture of what's going on with her money.
Okay, well, she's planning to come in October, and she is planning to send to her spare bank account money. So she wants to sponsor.
I know about this.
Further
yes,
children.
I know. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Good. Super. Any other questions?
Yeah, please close your screen share.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Andre, super job going to Germany and finding a club. Thank you very, very much. I mean, that's a big step in the right direction. We appreciate your hard work in doing that. We're going to try very hard to get to those 10 children this year. That was our goal, to have 10. We're on the right track. We're going in the right direction. So thank you very, very much for your hard work. And we need to get that information. We need to get that information on all those children. We need to get it out publicly about all of them, to all of our members, because we got over 300 people on our mailing list that come to our meetings and participate. So we need to get that information out. So maybe in the next week or two, you and Randall can share that information with the names and pictures and so forth, so that we can make that more public. We need that publicity to go out. So, okay. I have one more item, and then I'm going to ask for inputs from RU and from everybody in the group. Let me go back to my screen share. What I was talking about earlier was the word help. I started out early this evening in my president's comments and talking about how we need to help everybody. And during this thing, I was thinking about HELP. What can we do to expand that? And the H is for hope. We have people out there who are despaired. They don't know where to turn, either from a hurricane or a flood or a natural disaster or a situation where they don't have books in schools. They don't have desks to write on. They need water because they don't have good water in their community. We need to give them hope. As Rotarians, ourselves and all the Rotarians around the world, when we meet these people who are in despair, provide them a little bit of hope. And when you provide them hope, you need to think about using a little bit of empathy. We need to put ourselves in their shoes. For most Rotarians, we're not suffering from all these problems. most of us have got some foundation. We may not be as well off as we'd like to be, but we have some foundation. We need to put ourselves into their shoes, have empathy and feel the way they feel. When we do that, we're going to start to learn about their needs, because what we see may not be what they really need. We need to use the empathy to learn about their individual needs. What are their needs and how can we help them? And then we need to take that and turn it into a project. Start a project so that we can help them to overcome the problem they have, and Rotarians can help more people around the world. So I offer you to think about this word help, H-E-L-P, hope, empathy, learning, and projects. If we do these four things, we will be able to move forward and help more individuals around the world. All right, members. Let's start with Rami. Rami, do you have any input for us this evening?
No comments, thank you.
How is Moscow doing? All right, you okay up there?
Yeah.
Staying busy, all right. Randall, any comments, please?
Nope.
No comments. Your tongue is tied tonight. Okay. Andres, any comments, please?
No further comments than to those I have already made. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your participation. It really, really was good news to hear about those other children. I'll get you in just a second, Anthony, and I didn't forget about you, dear. Okay, those are our active members who are part of the regular club, and we have honorary members who are a member of our club also. One of those is Antonina. Antonina, any comments, please?
Comment how you can hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Natalia Kunzer, for your very interesting presentation. It made me nostalgic because I was part of USAID exchange program as a relatively young business leader from Russia into Washington, DC, etc. And in '94, then I was group study exchange member in '98 and going through Alaska and yes, Carolyn Jones. So sweet times, interesting times, they changed my life. The other thing I was also thinking for your comment, Natalie, about people in Russia not so fond about to be involved in Rotary and just general help to others like this. Maybe I interpreted in the wrong terms. So what I was thinking actually, you see, born in '55, okay? All my basically life as an adult up to '99, I spent in Russia and solid one. And I can remember definitely times when work for community, for others, was obligatory. It was not paid work, but everyone had to do this community work for others. I also know that sharing and support, it was always in, at least in people who I know in the past in Russia. And this actually was encouraged by government very much, but encouraged by government. So we were living, maybe Natalia Lechat can correct me, but we were living for my country. Here I am. I didn't really experience perestroika in Russia 5-6 years, really. That's it. But when I came here into wealthy, relatively good Canada, okay, which is basically which is capitalism. And when I mentioned that we have to live for country, my husband just did not understand me at all. He told me, no, country has to live for us. So here I got this sense of individualism that was cultivated always in this society. But help to others was expressed usually through churches, organizations, through community clubs, etc., etc. So it was different approach. What I found right now in a modern Russia, because I'm in a very deep touch with them and I'm visiting them and I had a lot of part of all my blood family is there. What I found, they are still supportive and they still help others selectively and individually. State is not encouraging anymore, like, no, actually my mom told me, old man, she told me, oh, we are so hearing a lot now in TV about volunteers. Even this word is new, you know, to Russia. Okay, about volunteers. But when I talk to my younger generation, what they do, they support what they think worth doing it. Like a dog shelter or just a sick child or, you know what, on an individual base. Moreover, so-called mecenates, mecenat is a wealthy person who donates to city, to society, to make like a theater or to create benches, the same benches like Rotary did in the past. It was always in Russian history among wealthy people. So problem why Rotary is not popular right now in Russia, it's because I try to understand why it happened. And this is, of course, it's not supported by government, okay? Rotary movement. And people just are a little bit lost, I think, because these 30 years of bloody consumerism and individualism are changing mindset, and some people are just in between, let's say it the way. So it's my comment because I'm still thinking about this. Okay, sorry, maybe it's not in a point, you know, for our particular.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine, Antonina.
Okay, and that's it. Just sharing my thoughts. Okay, thank you again. Thank you, Natalia.
Antonina, we appreciate your comment because your experience on both sides of the fence, having been in Russia for a long time and out of Russia now for a long time, and your opinions are always welcome. We like to hear other people. We never, anybody that's on screen, we're never going to say that they can't say their piece because they all are different. Everybody in the world is different. They're alike, but they're different. And we have different experiences and we think different about the same information. Two people get the same information, they're going to think a little bit different. So we need to hear from both sides. That's really, really great. Thank you very, very much for your comments. Appreciate that. Natalia Lechat, any comment, please? I'll get with you in a minute, Richard. Natalia?
Hi. Natalia, thank you very much for very informative presentation. You've had a very fulfilling job. And I'm sure you very much enjoy it. And I wish Russian government would have an agency to fund similar as US Congress funds. I think that would help a lot in understanding in the world, in other countries, of what Russia is about and what Russian people are about. And it would be interesting to explore possibilities to maybe start with local governments, like, for example, Saint Petersburg mayor to just bring up that question and bring this idea forward. Because I'm sure a lot of people and politicians will realize how important it is, especially in the current climate, political climate.
Yeah,
You mean to
definitely.
create flow from West into Russia at the expense of Russian government, right?
That's right. That's exactly what a U.S. Congress program that Natalia is working for, to fund an agency which is doing similar to what Natalia's agency is doing. Because they provide funding. You see,
reciprocating organization on the other side.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would
that
be
may be something.
fantastic.
Yeah, that may be something we hear about in the future. It's certainly a good idea going in that direction. Richard, comment, please.
Just very briefly, this past weekend, I was at our district conference, and one of our guest speakers was Carolyn Jones from Alaska. And so she is doing well. I met her just very briefly, and she mentioned starting up about 7 Rotary clubs in Russia. And I see that, I believe also that she is on our Rotary Action Group for Peace now as a board member of that. So, and she was speaking to us on racism.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the update. Peter, any closing comments? We're almost finished. Peter?
Nothing more, just to answer to Randall. Yes, I am on your email list.
Very good. Very, very good. And before, Natalia, any other comments, please, from you? Closing comments from you?
No, it's if I make a comment about volunteerism in Russia, you know it, I know it. It's a long discussion. It's not that it's absolutely nil there. It's just not the same as it is in the United States. That's all I can say. About the idea of a similar initiative on the Russian side, there was a talk about it some years ago. It's somehow it's not on the table at the moment. I don't think anybody knows the intentions or the way Russian policy will go forth. At this point, it's a little skeptical for any friendly approach, since even organizations such as Rotary is in a little bit gray area somehow, and we can't fully spring our wings and fly everywhere. It's concerning, most definitely, and but we cannot cease our activities because that's not what we can do or should do. And people-to-people diplomacy is our only way at this point. And at some point, from grassroots, from bottoms up, it'll get to a national level, and perhaps Russia will move. Local governments would be difficult because they look up, and what the upstairs will tell them, they'll do that. If they don't do something, they'll be swept away very swiftly. Russia is complicated.
It's very complicated, but we have each week we have more and more learning about Russia and about America and other countries working with Russia through our ICC meetings, through our speakers, people like yourself and others, and all of you are helping so that we get a better understanding of what the problems are and what can be done about them. So thank you very, very much, Natalia, for being our speaker tonight. Okay, we're at the close. Actually, we're about 7 minutes overtime today. Sorry about running a little bit long, but that's fine. We had a good presentation. We had a good discussion about the youth and the exchange and how we can think about doing that. We heard a very good report from Andres about our signature project for our club and how it's growing and where it's going. So we're looking forward to seeing all of your smiling faces back here next week. We will hopefully within the next week or two extend our speaker schedule and get some more speakers. If you know of someone who you think is an outstanding speaker, who you think has something very important to talk to this group on, please contact Randall and let him know, and we'll follow up and see if we can't get them to come speak at our club on this. And if you need outreach from us to any of your clubs to talk about our project or what we're doing, feel free to contact us and we will reach to them and present to clubs outside of our own. Thank you all very, very much. Everybody's had a chance to talk. I'm tired of talking. That's unusual, but I'm tired of talking, and we're going to go ahead and close the meeting at this time. Good night, everybody, and thank you very, very much for attending. We'll see you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. Stay all healthy and wealthy.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's a Rotary four-way test.
Now many years ago, in 1932, his company was headed down, he knew not what to do. Then Herbert Taylor started on a quest to keep his team from certain doom. He wrote the four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's the Rotary four-way test. Adopted some years later by Rotarians worldwide, some simple rules for dealing with the people by your side. A guide for life's decisions, no doubt one of the best. Just 24 quite simple words. The four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's the Rotary four-way test. In the class or on the playground with your friends at school, you'll find that hurtful words and actions really aren't too cool. So as you make your choices of what to do or say, remember that old four-way test and you will be okay. Is it the truth?